Human beings have been performing computations for thousands of years, from tally sticks to Stonehenge to the portable and still employable abacus. The history of computing includes punch cards, tabulators, and desktop calculators, all leading to Alan Turing's influence on computer science with his mind-bending algorithms and miraculous program-storing machine. In the mid-20th century, computers went commercial, developed by companies like UNIVAC, Burroughs, NCR, Control Data, Honeywell, and IBM. This consortium produced large, customized, and expensive computer systems for government agencies and corporations. A new age in human computational history was about to dawn. In the 1960s, the status quo experienced a radical transformation. New ideas were forming as cultural, political, and social traditions came under question. The same can be said for the world of business computing. Generally considered the first modern mainframe, IBM's 360 reinvented business computing and delivered the technological firepower that allowed NASA's rocket scientists to look into the sky and say, "Hey gravity, let's go for a ride."
The first thing that came to mind when I think about what impact the mainframe has had on business over the last 45 years or so was in fact the US space program, because the mainframes provided that compute solution that actually enabled us to put a man on the moon in the 60s. Perhaps the biggest contribution was in the area of real-time transaction processing, because that's what really led the way to, for example, credit card authorization systems, airline reservation systems, things that we kind of take for granted today, that you could just walk up to somebody and they can immediately answer a question or transact business with you. All of that's driven by this real-time transaction processing, which was pioneered on the mainframe.
When you look back in the 60s, we were really experiencing a lot of technological problems that, looking back, it's hard to visualize now. Most computers were custom built. One of the great examples of this is Sabre, which was a custom built IBM mainframe designed just for American Airlines to run a reservation system. There was an awful lot of this, and so you'd have slight variations of the machines. IBM made the decision to have a compatible family of systems that could be used for any business purpose. So to that goal, IBM started developing in 1960 the System 360 line as what we would now call a heterogeneous line of computers. So it would dramatically reduce the cost of developing these systems.
When I started working with computers, a lot of work was done through batch. At the time, it was a great jump forward because it automated something that had previously been done by hand. But businesses realized that they needed to be more responsive than this. They wanted to go what we now call online. They wanted to be able to do things in real time. So within IBM, we created TSO for interactive users. We created IMS and CICS for transactional users. These environments, particularly CICS, are still very heavily used because they provide the backup, the security, they provide mechanisms for doing all the attributes that business applications need, and all the customer has to worry about is writing the business logic part of it.
The mainframe itself was the outgrowth of a culture of responsible computing, and that came together with an architecture that was built around the needs of business, but also a culture of scrupulousness, of care, of doing things that were looking to the future. Hence the promise that IBM made when they put out the announcement for the mainframe on April 7th, 1964, that whatever you wrote for their mainframe then would continue to run into the future. And that's a promise that's being kept.
The ability to run, it's a terrible word, legacy workloads. Right? So it's not like, in Windows, when you upgrade from Windows 6 to Windows 7 or Windows 7 to whatever's going to come next, half your applications stop working and you have to go buy the next one. Or if they're your applications, you have to figure out what to recode. That COBOL program that you wrote, 30 years ago continues to run exactly the same way as it did. Our customers do like to test everything every year. To some extent, they're surprised that the stuff continues to run, because of the sort of the rules of engagement that IBM and the ISVs put around the mainframe, which was to make sure that it was the ultimate investment protection platform.
In all the years that I've been involved in a mainframe, I'm not sorry I chose that path. I'm not sorry now, we used to have a data center that was, 5 million square feet. Okay, now the data center is, maybe 500 square feet, but it doesn't matter. The power is 500 times of what it was. It's considerably easier to manage. If you just look at the cabling, in the old days, where you had bus and table cabling that looked like a fire hose, and now you got a piece of wire that looks like a telephone jack in a wall. Makes life a whole lot easier.
If you talk to people who have been working on this platform for longer than I've been alive, they'll tell you that it's their platform, right? That IBM is just a custodian of the platform, and the CA is a custodian of the platform. That they're the ones who in the 60s were picking the little cores up off the floor and making sure that the IBM CE did the right stuff. That's really why it is where it is. It is the community and the fact that there's a great deal of feeling of responsibility on all parts, right? The customers feel a great deal of responsibility to the platform. IBM clearly feels a great deal of responsibility, as do the ISVs.
The remarkable change that defined the 1960s was echoed in the world of business computing, and would help lay the foundation for the aggressive business expansion poised to unfurl in the coming decade. The computational engine that would help drive a significant amount of that growth? You guessed it, the mainframe. The 1970s were a study in contradiction. Oil embargoes and global conflict raged, while agrarian programs and the rise of new industrial techniques flourished. Women were entering the workforce and politics in increasing numbers, while the trust in corporations and principally governments was in decline. Computer technology, from video games to complex computer networks, was becoming increasingly commonplace. In the world of business computing, new technologies such as virtualization were debuting on the mainframe, delivering what appeared to be a contradictory promise: greater utilization, manageability, and performance at a lower cost.
The 70s just explode. During the 70s, IBM came out with almost a new processor every year. Starting in 1970 with the System 370 and virtual storage. Oh my, that was pretty exciting back then.
Simply put, virtualization is about sharing resources. Virtualization is the creation of a virtual version of an operating system, a server, a storage device, or network resources. Sharing resources allows organizations to achieve greater utilization, manageability, and performance from their technology investments.
Virtualization's been around the mainframe for a long time, and it's kind of a buzzword that's just hit the PC market in the last 5 or 10 years. So I think mainframes deserves a lot of credit.
It is a common thing for mainframers to say, been there, done that, when they see some brand new technology come out. The easiest one to refer to, obviously, is virtualization.
I was the operator of a CP67, System 360 CP67 machine, which already could run software which was the predecessor of VM. It allowed one machine to act like it was more than one. And that was a form of virtualization.
The mainframe is not restricted to a single particular software architecture. You don't necessarily need to buy another computer because you want to run a different operating system. It's a matter of potentially upgrading your software or expanding memory or some other things, but not necessarily the capital expense involved in purchasing a new machine.
I take a look at all of the big trends that are going on right now on the distributed side, and they've all essentially come out of mainframe. Think about virtualization. The distributed side being virtualized at whether it's 5 or 20%, depending upon the study you see, versus the mainframe at 80 to 90%.
With the introduction of UPC and the ability to label discrete things, and the introduction of the technology to read those and pass that along into a central processing system, it became possible to automate lots more things, to keep very close watch on inventories, and to reduce costs by managing inventory levels, managing supply chains.
Well, as time is going on, obviously the other platforms have adopted the good ideas that the mainframe developed decades ago. But there are qualities of service that the mainframe provides in terms of the ability to do detailed management of the system. The other platforms seems like the philosophy is things are cheap, so just buy more. That approach has led to much greater expense than it would have been to implement on the so-called expensive mainframe system.
And so, my friends, the citizens of Earth avert disaster with a little help from IBM mainframes. Business productivity once again prevailed.
As computer technology became increasingly pervasive in both the commercial and private sectors, organizations utilized mainframe technology to grow their businesses on a global scale. Virtualization technology allowed companies to easily share and grow their applications and resources across increasingly large networks. In the coming years, a revolution in computer technology, most notably personal computers, would help make server technology increasingly more affordable, spawning what is often referred to as the dawn of distributed computing. Among other notables, the 1980s and the 1990s gave us the first woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, the loss of the Challenger space shuttle, Hong Kong's return to China, and of course the collapse of the Soviet Union and the corresponding fragmentation of what had been a closed and highly centralized society. With the advent of the personal computer, dramatic changes were also occurring in the high-tech industry. The Windows operating system, along with Unix, began to be adopted as an alternative server solution to the mainframe. In fact, some were saying the mainframe's days were numbered.
Here today to pay our last respects to our beloved mainframe.
The mainframe has been pronounced dead more times than Abe Vigoda, for crying out loud.
It was a tough time trying to convince people, number one, that you should continue to invest in a mainframe.
Mainframes weren't flexible enough. People would come in and say, I need an application change. I need a new application. And we had backlogs. We said, well, maybe we'll get to your requirement, but it's going to be in another 2 years. And people went off and kind of said, well, that's not good enough. I need to do something and I need to do it now.
The big push in the 80s was to move to distributed systems. There was a belief that these computers would be able to take over for a mainframe and do the mainframe's job. Because the press, the analysts, and users jumped on this distributed computing idea, the future of the mainframe looked awfully dim.
You had a lot of companies don't exist anymore, those who were sort of anti-mainframe, and I think they went a little over the top in trying to suggest that they were going to fix all the problems of mainframe computing.
The 90s were very perilous for the mainframe. Analysts and technology pundits thought that the mainframe was going to die. They thought that client-server was the way to go. It gave the flexibility that people needed to get systems in very quickly. So the mainframe suffered quite a bit at the higher levels.
There was a guy in 1991, one of the hotshot IT analysts. He said the last mainframe would be unplugged on March 15th, 1996. That's almost 15 years ago, and today 50 of the top 50 banks use IBM mainframe computer systems. 24 of the top 27 retailers use IBM mainframe systems. Why do they do that? It's because the mainframe is the most reliable, the most available, and the most secure platform.
A computing system is secure if you can rely on it to behave in the manner you expect it to. Now, that is the beauty of the mainframe. There's an old saying that housework is something that nobody notices unless you don't do it. You know, it's kind of funny, the mainframe's kind of like that people don't notice the mainframe because of the fact that it's just sitting there working behind the scenes.
The business requirements keep getting stronger and stronger every year for things like data security, data integrity, being able to report these things. The Intel, Windows, or even the Lintel world has a lot of strengths, you know, in the fact that you can buy a lot of things. You know, you can pretty much buy anything you want from any vendor. But the bottom line is that when the ecosystem is that broad, making those things work together in a very effective way is harder.
Many distributed servers would be needed in order to do a single job, where it could be done much more conveniently, efficiently, and in a controllable manner if it was done on a mainframe system, because the mainframe system could do the whole job all in one place.
In our recent survey, 75% of CIOs are undergoing some level of re-centralization. Not just the mainframes, they're re-centralizing on many different platforms, but that's certainly a good sign for mainframes. I think some of that proliferation that occurred, that server sprawl that's out there today, is now being fixed.
I don't see the 80s and 90s as dark ages at all. I see it as a period of growth, expansion, and response to a challenger that came in the form of distributed computing.
The 80s are usually remembered as the time when PCs showed up, and that kind of would make you think that the mainframes faded, but they didn't really start fading then at all. They were expanding very, very rapidly. IBM pushed into areas they had not been before, both into smaller companies and larger companies. Amdahl, eventually Hitachi, Fujitsu. It was a real expansion of the mainframe. With the 90s, something a little bit different started happening. The mainframes continued to grow in presence, and they remained extremely important, but increasingly big production workloads could be done on other platforms. And by the end, with, of course, the introduction of the internet and the fact that the mainframe initially didn't play very well in that world, by the end of the 90s, there was a real thought that the mainframes were going to go away, that they were going to become obsolete and just go away eventually. But of course that didn't happen.
Distributed computing did not signal the demise of the mainframe. In fact, as the 21st century began and the internet and global commerce exponentially expanded, qualities such as security, reliability, and manageability were becoming increasingly valuable. Qualities that positioned the mainframe for a renaissance in the decades to come. The acceleration of globalization epitomized the first decade of the 21st century, allowing individuals to communicate and collaborate using social networks while sharing the contents of their pocketbooks through electronic commerce. A more intimate planet could also bring tragedy, and none was more deep than 9/11. Yet globalization also delivered diversity, insight, and opportunities, all in real time. The always open concept was equally vibrant in the realm of business computing. Linux became the fastest growing operating system on the planet, an open source option that thrived on Big Iron across myriad industries. In the first decade of the new millennium, the mainframe was not only back, it was helping to once again dictate the direction of business computing.
IBM has been very, very responsive to the marketplace and their customer demands, and have morphed the mainframe into something that is as modern and as full function as every other technology, and even actually more so.
We do our best to try to adapt any innovation from anywhere in the industry to take advantage of it and be able to deliver it to our mainframe customers.
The thing about the mainframe that's pretty exciting today is you consider that it's existed for 45 years now, yet it still continues to change every day to meet the business needs.
Things that used to be significantly different between the mainframe and these other platforms have sort of faded into insignificance, and the same kinds of development languages, the same kinds of databases, the same kinds of interoperability with the networked world and the wired world and the internet world, all are fully supported and fully developed on the mainframes.
IBM invested heavily in Linux, and people were scratching their heads wondering, they thought maybe this was just because they had missed the boat when they let Microsoft take away the DOS operating system, but the fact is that their Linux investment is paying off spades now.
It was around 2001, and we had just begun this journey towards Linux running on the mainframe. It was a great idea that some of my team in Germany had come up with to port Linux to the mainframe, and we were just beginning to see the possibilities of what this additional operating system could give us in the Z world.
People looked at Linux as a way of saving money. It's not really the case. There's an expression that free software is only free if your time is worth nothing, and people looked at Linux as free software. what you're really getting is the portability, in much the same way that Java gave you an application binary portability. Linux has the same operating system, as we say Linux is Linux is Linux, on x86, Power, Mainframe, so you could pick the best hardware platform to meet your workloads. Today we look at, I'd say, maybe 15–20% of our Mainframe customers are running Linux production workloads. And I'll give credit where credit is due here, and that's Google. Google runs a Linux-based environment, and that has got customers looking, okay, if this huge corporation is basing their business on it, maybe it's safe to do, and I should use it. And we're really seeing that mindset change.
It's often asked, why are mainframes different? We can deliver vertical scale. Now, what I mean by that, most other platforms in the world, if you run out of capability, you add a box, you add another box, you add another operating system, you add another image, and you scale horizontally. And that's pretty good. We can do that too. But what we can also do is vertical scalability. And that means that you could have a workload running that for some reason is not meeting its goals. You're not meeting your service level agreements. We can literally scale up that application while it's running. That would be the equivalent of adding horsepower to a car while you're driving on the highway. This is the only system in the world that you can add resources to a running workload while it's in the middle of running and actually make a difference and improve that response time.
Being able to keep up with the on-demand level of business that people are just accustomed to these days, I think is really one of the Mainframe's strengths.
We have most recently used IBM's capacity on demand facility. Almost instantaneously, you can upgrade your machine for MIPS, turn them on, turn them off whenever you want, and we have used it during some of our peak periods during the month. You don't need to upgrade your machine physically, you don't need to have anybody touch the box, open it up, power it down. You go through the process, the code is downloaded, your machine is up and running, and when you don't want it anymore, you just undo it and then it goes away.
The mainframe is a platform of choice for many, many kinds of applications. It's still today the most secure, the most scalable, able to sustain the highest kinds of transaction volumes and data volumes at the lowest cost per transaction. That is a competitive edge, and the fact that when you're dealing with massive amounts of data and massive numbers of transactions, you need a platform that will support that, and the mainframe has shown itself to be the premier platform there, and I think that will continue. As long as investment continues, as long as customers continue to demand more, the mainframe community will continue to deliver more.
With the first decade of the new century coming to a close, the future of the mainframe was wide open, with 1,600 applications introduced on the platform between 2007 and 2010. And the alluring attributes that had initially drawn organizations to centralized computing were back in vogue. The 21st century mainframe was retooled and reinvigorated for 2010. In the next decade, the benefits of global connectivity will blossom. This vast globe becomes a barber shop. Where becomes everywhere. The corner store, your wish list, your bank, in your pocket, and then with the push of a button transferred across the global grid. And suddenly you're asking yourself, is this a good thing? What about security? What of privacy, reliability, backup and recovery? It's no coincidence that those challenges are the reason many of the world's largest organizations choose to secure and transact their data on an IBM mainframe. Get ready and say hello to tomorrow.
We have a whole new cohort of people coming in from universities, coming onto the mainframe. And that's a great thing because they're going to make sure the mainframe keeps running. But we have to recognize that this also means a change to the mainframe. We are using spit and glue solutions that were put in place 20, 30 years ago, that the person who wrote them often is even long gone. And we don't need to upgrade those solutions. We need to simply go beyond them and use the functionality that's available on today's mainframe with today's management software that takes care of that. But if we don't do that before a new generation is fully in place, they're going to be afraid to make those changes themselves because they're not going to know why we're doing that.
Lots of people are retirement eligible. What are we going to do? What are our customers going to do? What's IBM going to do? We had started a program back in 2003 when this was also a question that had come up called the Academic Initiative. And it started with 70 schools, largely in the US. When I came into this job in July of 2009, I asked for an update on the academic initiative. And I was thrilled to learn that it was over 600 schools now around the world. It's been a win-win-win-win for IBM, for the student, for the university, and for the companies that have been able to hire these students.
Christine Harper and I actually met at an event that IBM had sponsored. It was a networking event where they thought, as part of the IBM Academic Initiative, they thought it would be a really nice idea to get anyone who was currently at that Share Mainframe conference in Boston to get together. Christine and I had that vision of right from the beginning, that there's something here, that there is enough of us who want to get together and collaborate and help each other with technical questions and build a professional network.
A lot of my generation doesn't know anything else besides the GUIs, and they don't know about mainframe technology. But I think if they're exposed to it and given the opportunity to explore an IT career role outside of the PC platforms, I think they would embrace it.
I decided to go with the mainframe for a professional career because I saw the area of opportunity for myself. Just coming into the field, just coming out of college, everybody else was going into the telecom or going into the server side of the world, and I saw the opportunity for immediate career growth, to take reins of my own career and progress as quickly as I could drive myself.
Until there's a magical processor that allows you to run any particular kind of instruction set anywhere you want, I think that there's always going to be room for multiple kinds of platforms. Our customers have proved that out, right? There isn't any customer who just runs a mainframe or just runs one kind of distributed system. They run the workload based on where the applications run the best.
All of our clients are running that way. They're running in these heterogeneous environments. Let's embrace that diversity. Let's embrace that heterogeneity and actually extend some of the qualities of service that we have in mainframe computing to those other platforms.
The cost pressure that's in place right now, as finance organizations really begin to get a handle on the true costs of distributed computing, and they compare that to the all-in costs for mainframe computing, I think the economics are going to be there, I think the workforce is going to be there, and I think the simplicity is going to be there for workloads to migrate back to the mainframe.
Customers today that I work with, more and more of them are using the mainframe as that central data processing service for new workloads, not just for the traditional. So we're seeing WebSphere, we're seeing Java workloads, we're seeing one of the big things for IBM right now is Cognos. That's exciting for me because we're bringing new people to the platform, seeing the benefit that, if anything, is going to help the mainframe stay relevant for a great many years to come.
At this point, I don't see an alternative. I don't see an Amdahl. I don't see a Magnuson. I don't see a trilogy coming out of the woodwork to create a new mainframe. I think that train has already left the station and really gone. So I think the advancements will be in the software. I think the software is going to be as big, if not bigger, part in what can and can't be done.
Every time there's been a big turn of the technological crank, has been really driven by some sort of economic need. Right? The current need to move to cloud is one of CIOs wanting to really understand what they're paying for. You're paying as you go. Right? That seems to be the big thing that's behind driving cloud. So it's much more of a utility model, right? So if I'm using, if I need to drive my car 300 miles and that takes 10 gallons, I pay for 10 gallons of gas. I don't have to buy and own the gasoline station to keep my computer center running.
What most people want when they talk about cloud computing is the concept of multi-tenancy. You may be co-hosting competitive workloads. I may be running workload from one retailer that's on the same server as another retailer. They do not want their data to be commingled. When you've got to guarantee application isolation, when you've got to guarantee workload balancing, that one can't dominate the other one, when you've got to guarantee security, what kind of things do you think of when you think of mainframe computing? Well, those are the very attributes that we embrace, that we've been doing for years.
I don't get excited about many new buzzwords, but I've experienced cloud computing at a company level. It works, it's necessary, and as companies become more global, cloud computing is where it's at.
Each 5 or 6 years we see kind of a major revolution, a major new thing that shows up in this world. And so far, over every cycle so far, the mainframe community, technology community has has been able to support that and in some cases lead it. So looking into the future, I suspect that we'll see the mainframe continue to be a very vibrant part of what's required for IT.
Today, people are looking at reliability and scalability as important issues, but add to that the complexity added by governance and regulations, and mainframe is the only platform that businesses can really look at for the future. It's going to get bigger, it's going to get more exciting, and it's going to become a larger part of the overall IT ecosystem.
The mainframe platform offers almost unlimited opportunity for young people interested in the world of business computing. Businesses recognize how the strengths and attributes of the mainframe closely align with their strategic direction. With IBM's continuing and significant investment in the venerable system, it's clear why so many customers, business partners, and industry experts are bullish on the future of the mainframe. For this computing platform, the future is extraordinarily bright.